You know, sometimes even the biggest stars in the world reach a breaking point. And that's exactly what seems to have happened to Johnny Depp. At 62, he's just confessed something that has left Hollywood stunned. His exact words? "I'm just done," and when he said it, it wasn't a line from a movie. It was real. It was raw. It was Johnny finally saying what so many people in his position probably feel but never dare to admit. Hey, if you've been following everything surrounding Johnny Depp lately, the drama, the court cases, the media frenzy, you're definitely not alone. He's been through more public battles than most actors face in a lifetime. And today, we're going to unpack what exactly led him to say those chilling words, what's really going on behind the scenes, and what this could mean for his future in Hollywood. Because trust me, this story isn't just about exhaustion, it's about a man finally taking control of his own narrative. So let's rewind for a second. Johnny Depp didn't start out as some Hollywood headline magnate. No, he was an artist first, a true performer. From the haunting innocence of Edward Scissorhands to the chaotic brilliance of Captain Jack Sparrow, Johnny built a career on being unpredictable, creative, and unapologetically himself. He wasn't just an actor. He was a symbol of that mysterious, artistic soul Hollywood rarely nurtures anymore. But somewhere along the way, that artistry got overshadowed by controversy. The last decade has been rough for him, emotionally, publicly, and professionally. The man who once made the world laugh and cry through his characters suddenly became the center of an exhausting media storm. Legal battles, defamation trials, endless speculation about his personal life. It's like every corner of his world was being watched, dissected and judged, and after years of fighting for his reputation, his work, and his peace of mind, Johnny finally said it. "I'm just done." Now, that simple line, those three little words, they hit hard. Because coming from someone like Johnny Depp, they don't just sound like frustration. They sound like someone who's reached his emotional limit. Someone who's been carrying too much for too long. In a recent interview, he opened up in a way we haven't seen from him before. He talked about feeling drained, not just physically, but creatively and spiritually. He said that after years of struggle, he's reached a point where the fight feels bigger than him. And honestly, that kind of honesty is rare in Hollywood. When you hear those words, you realize something. Behind all the glamour and fame, there's still a human being who feels, who hurts, who gets tired. We often forget that, don't we? We see the red carpets, the awards, the luxury. But we don't see the toll it takes on a person's soul. So what's really going on behind Johnny's confession? Let's break it down. First, the legal and financial strain. His very public divorce and those defamation trials didn't just cost him peace of mind. They also cost him millions. Years of lawyers, court appearances, and settlements, all while the world watched, commented, and took sides. That alone could drain anyone's energy, no matter how strong you are. Then, there's the battle for his public image. Let's be real. Once you become a target of tabloid culture, it's hard to shake that off. The headlines never stop. Every statement gets twisted. Every rumor becomes news. It's a constant war between truth and perception. And even though Johnny won key battles in court, the fight for how people see him never really ends. And here's another layer, the creative frustration. Imagine being one of the most unique actors in Hollywood history and feeling trapped. Johnny's spoken about feeling boxed in, like the industry wants him to play it safe, stick to what people expect. Does he go back to big franchises like Pirates of the Caribbean? Or does he take the risk and do smaller, artistic films that may not make $1 billion but feed his soul? Those are heavy choices, especially for someone who's always marched to his own beat. And of course, there's age and reflection. At 62, you start thinking differently. You look back and wonder, what's left to prove? What do I really want now? For Johnny, that might mean stepping away from the chaos and finding peace in smaller, quieter projects, or maybe in just living life for himself for a while. Now, there are some misconceptions floating around that we need to clear up. First, some people heard, "I'm just done," and immediately thought, "That's it. He's retiring." But that's not exactly what he said. He's not necessarily walking away forever. It's more like he's taking a step back, taking a breath, choosing his battles. He's not quitting acting. He's quitting the circus that comes with it. Second, some say he's weak for saying it out loud. But think about it. It actually takes strength to admit you're exhausted. It's easy to pretend everything's fine, especially when the world expects you to be invincible. Saying I'm done doesn't mean giving up. It can mean choosing peace over chaos. And third, others claim this was a PR move, like it's all calculated. But insiders say there's a deeper side to this. Sure, his team knows how the media works, but people close to Johnny describe him as genuinely tired, emotionally and mentally drained after years of having to defend himself. So maybe this moment isn't strategy. Maybe it's sincerity. Still, the story doesn't end here. Because behind the scenes, there's more happening than most people realize. According to a producer who's worked closely with Johnny, he's been quietly developing some small, personal projects. The kind of films he's always wanted to make but never had the time or freedom to do. They're indie, artistic, and deeply meaningful to him. No giant studios. No huge pressure. Just pure creative expression. And that right there, that's what makes this phase of his life so fascinating. For the first time in decades, Johnny Depp isn't chasing big studio blockbusters or franchise paychecks. He's going back to his roots, the reason he fell in love with acting in the first place. Before the fame, before the headlines, before Jack Sparrow became a pop culture icon, Johnny was an artist at heart. He was the kind of guy who would rather make a strange, beautiful, misunderstood film than something predictable just to keep the spotlight. And that part of him, the dreamer, the musician, the storyteller, is now resurfacing stronger than ever. From what insiders have said, these new projects he's working on aren't your typical Hollywood productions. They're small, intimate, and deeply personal. He's reportedly involved not just as an actor, but also as a writer, director, and even producer. Imagine that. Johnny, free from studio control, building something from scratch that actually means something to him. One of these rumored projects, according to people in the know, explores themes of loss, redemption, and identity, subjects he connects with on a deeply emotional level. It's not about spectacle or fame. It's about expression. He's been talking to a few longtime creative friends too, people who understand his artistic side, not just his star power. They've been brainstorming together, sketching out stories that feel raw and human. Some say these conversations have been happening in his quiet home studio in France, where he's been spending most of his time lately. Away from Los Angeles, away from paparazzi, he's found a kind of calm there. Painting, playing guitar, writing ideas down on napkins and notebooks. You can picture it. Johnny sitting at a wooden table with a cup of coffee, surrounded by canvases and guitars, finally allowing himself to create without fear of judgment. This creative rebirth isn't just about movies either. It's also about music, his first love. Before he ever became a Hollywood actor, Johnny was a musician. He said many times that if acting hadn't worked out, music would have been his whole life. And in a way it still is. He's been working on new recordings, some solo, some with close collaborators. He's been writing lyrics again, not for fame, not for charts, but for himself. It's therapy through art. People close to him describe it as a healing process. That every song, every scene he writes is helping him put pieces of himself back together. And here's what's so interesting. The tone of these new projects isn't angry or bitter. It's reflective. It's thoughtful. It's the work of a man who's lived through storms and come out the other side a little wiser, maybe a little more tired, but still full of curiosity. He doesn't want revenge. He doesn't want to prove anyone wrong. He just wants to create something honest, something lasting, something real. The producer who shared this insight said something really touching. They said, Johnny's not trying to be the biggest star anymore. He just wants to be an artist again. And that's such a powerful statement, especially in an industry that often confuses success with constant noise. For Johnny, it seems like silence has become sacred. He's not running toward cameras. He's stepping away from them. He's learning to enjoy the quiet moments, to let the art come naturally rather than forcing it under deadlines and deals. Apparently, one of the scripts he's been developing is inspired by his own life. Not directly autobiographical, but rooted in emotion and truth. It follows a man who's been through chaos, who retreats into isolation and slowly learns to find beauty again in the small things. Sound familiar? It's a mirror of his own journey, art imitating life. And while details are being kept under wraps, people who've read early drafts say it's one of his most poetic and introspective works yet. He's also been reconnecting with some European filmmakers who appreciate unconventional storytelling. France, Italy, and Eastern Europe have always been drawn to Johnny's unique energy, that mysterious, old soul aura that Hollywood sometimes struggles to understand. These independent directors don't want a megastar. They want an artist who feels deeply, and that's exactly who he is right now. There are even whispers that he's considering directing again, something he hasn't done much of since The Brave, his 1997 directorial debut. That film was misunderstood at the time, but it's gained cult respect over the years, and maybe now he's ready to give it another shot, to tell stories his own way, without compromise. Financially, he doesn't need these projects to succeed. He's not looking for box office numbers or awards. What he wants now is authenticity. One friend of his said that lately, Johnny talks more about legacy than fame. He's not asking, how can I make a comeback? But rather, what do I want to leave behind? And maybe that's why these smaller, quieter projects matter so much. They're not meant to impress the world. They're meant to speak from his heart. Another fascinating thing, and he's also mentoring a few younger artists. Not in a flashy, headline-making way, but quietly guiding them through the same creative struggles he once faced. He's helping them navigate the industry, teaching them how to stay true to their craft without losing themselves to the chaos of fame. He's been through it all, the rise, the fall, the judgment, the redemption, and now he wants to help others avoid the same traps. In many ways, that's the mark of someone who's evolved past ego. There's also talk that Johnny might use his art to address some of the bigger questions he's wrestled with: identity, forgiveness, resilience. Some of these projects may explore how people heal after public humiliation or heartbreak. They may not have huge explosions or CGI monsters, but they'll have something far rarer in modern cinema: truth. When you think about it, this chapter of Johnny's life feels like a full circle. He started as a young dreamer who just wanted to play music and make meaningful art. Then Hollywood came calling, and he got caught in the whirlwind. For years, the studios owned his time, his image, and maybe even parts of his soul. But now it's like he's reclaiming it all, taking it back piece by piece. He said in the past that fame can feel like a cage, golden, but still a cage. Maybe now he's finally stepping outside of it. These indie projects represent more than just movies. They're symbols of freedom. No executives telling him what to wear, no scripts rewritten by committee, no forced sequels or public appearances. Just Johnny, a camera, and a story worth telling. And for the fans who followed him through every high and low, this feels like the moment they've been waiting for, the chance to see the real artist again. The one who doesn't need a billion-dollar studio to make magic. The one who can captivate us with nothing but emotion, expression, and truth. It's beautiful, really. Because what started as a man saying, "I'm just done," might actually be the beginning of something even more powerful. The rebirth of his creative spirit. Maybe done doesn't mean finished. Maybe it means done with the noise, done with the fake smiles, done with living for everyone else's expectations. And now he's finally free to live for himself. Creating, playing, dreaming, just like he did before the world started watching. So while Hollywood might see this as Johnny Depp stepping back, those who really understand him know it's the opposite. He's not disappearing. He's rediscovering. And if these projects turn out the way people close to him say they will, then this quiet chapter could end up being the most meaningful one of his entire career. And here's something even more interesting. Some agents in Hollywood believe this might actually be the perfect time for a new kind of comeback. Not the blockbuster kind, but the soulful one. The kind that reminds people why they fell in love with him in the first place. By being vulnerable, by being honest, Johnny might just rebuild the empathy of an audience that's been divided for years. It's kind of ironic, isn't it? The same confession that made everyone think he's finished could actually mark the beginning of his next chapter. There's a quote Johnny gave years ago in an old interview. He said, "I think the thing to do is enjoy the ride while you're on it." And now, at 62, it feels like he's asking himself, how much more of the ride do I really want? It's a question we all face eventually. When do you stop chasing and start just Living, insiders also say we might not have seen the last of him yet. There are whispers about upcoming interviews, deeper, more personal ones, and maybe even some surprise appearances at film festivals. It seems like Johnny's not fading away quietly. He's just shifting gears, slowing down, reclaiming control of his own story. And here's the twist that might surprise you. Some people close to him actually believe this "I'm done" phase isn't an ending at all. They think it's the calm before the storm, the quiet before a reinvention. A reinvention that could shock everyone. Because if there's one thing Johnny Depp has proven time and time again, it's that he's unpredictable. Just when everyone thinks they've seen the last of him, he finds a way to come back stronger, stranger, and more creative than before. So now the big question is, what's next? Is this the final chapter of a legendary career? Or the rebirth of a man who's finally ready to live life on his own terms? Either way, it's clear that Johnny's confession wasn't about defeat. It was about release. After decades of fame, chaos, and scrutiny, maybe he's finally found the courage to say, "I've had enough." And maybe that's something we can all relate to. That moment when you stop trying to prove yourself to everyone else and start focusing on what truly makes you happy. So, what do you think? Is Johnny stepping away for good? Or is this just the beginning of something new? I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. If you found this breakdown interesting, make sure to check out my next video. Johnny Depp, Redemption or Reckoning? What's next? It's a deep dive into where his career might go from here and what Hollywood insiders are quietly saying behind closed doors. And hey, if you enjoyed hanging out and talking about this, don't forget to tap that like button, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss any future deep dives. We've got a lot more coming your way, and trust me, you won't want to miss it. Thanks for watching, and as always, take care of yourselves. And remember, even the brightest stars need a little time to rest.